Welcome everybody to Panfish Nation. Along with Mark, I'm Lyle. And Mark, we got a subject that I kind of like to talk about tonight.
Not me, man. I'm getting too old, Lyle. Getting too old.
I like changing weather. I like cooler weather because for some reason I find that every species of fish that I personally fish for bite better when the water starts cooling off because they know it's going to get cold, which it is, and they're feeding up for winter, whether they hibernate through the winter or whether they just feed up because they don't want to expend the energy to go chase it down.
Well, you would think so, but my last two outings would not prove that to be true, but I think I'm about a week out still.
Well, if you take a look at me, you can see that I've been feeding up for winter for 10, 12 years.
Me too. I'm getting ready. You know what? I got home from fishing today and I got busy doing some stuff around here. I had to catch up on some work and then I got some jig molds in. I started messing with them. I look up, it's 20 minutes to 7, time to start the show. I even forgot to eat. So I had a busy day today, but I did get out and fish. I got one lonely 11-inch crappie, and that happened early in the day. I was only out there for like 3.5 hours, but
that's a great fish though.
Yeah, it was a good fish and it happened early. So I got hope early in the day, and it made the day go by slower and slower. It's like, where are they? I checked my normal spots. They weren't there. Checked a couple brush piles. All I got was one stinking white bass out of a brush pile. That's not what I'm looking for. I found some roaming, but they were tiny. They were nipping at the tail.
Well, now, what was that you found?
I found like piles of them roaming, but they were
piles of them roaming.
Okay. Piles of crappie roaming around, but they were so small they couldn't take a 2-inch plastic. They're just nipping at the tail, getting me all worked up. I'm sitting there setting a hook on these little suckers, and they can't get the bait down their gullet. So,
well, Cindy and I was going to go fish today, and we got up. By the time we got everything wound up, the wind was 20 mile an hour plus, and we decided not to take the boat out and fight the wind all day, and then I've got an eye doctor appointment tomorrow, and so we're probably going to go out Friday morning early and see what we can come up with. The issue was, if you gear up to go fishing and the wind's so bad you decide you're not going to go, then you're all disappointed. So what do we do? Well, we go catch more bait.
Hey, so, I mean, that's part of the whole panfish thing. I mean, you can just go to a local pond or whatever. They're easy to catch. They're easy to get to. They're pretty prolific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're looking for like the bigger ones, let's say, eater crappie or eater bluegills, then it gets to be a little more difficult. But there's no reason why you can't throw a rod and reel in your truck and go down to the local pond or forest preserve or state park or whatever and get on them from the bank. It's just something to do. And when it's windy, you're casting into the wind anyways. It's usually shows you for sure.
I've been out several days in a row. Dockery, in case you're listening, I know you probably are, that you're not out every day than I have been, sometimes more than once a day. But anyhow, I've had days here lately, Mark, where I've been out by myself early in the mornings, and one day I caught one fish on the fly rod, and I couldn't get them to bite. I've tried everything under the sun, couldn't get them to take another bait, get out the jigging rod. Boom, 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 just whacking them. And Cindy likes to use her worms and a bobber, and that's fine and dandy. She was killing them the last 2 or 3 times we've been out. And now today, the fly rod was on fire. You just couldn't keep them off of it. And I was putting a wet fly down in the water about 8 inches behind a floater on the top of the water on that fly rod, and they was just drilling it,
hammering it.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
It just goes to what we was talking about a week or so ago. If something ain't working, try something else.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, but we've got, if we can get bluegills to go, we got plenty of bluegills.
I couldn't get much to bite today for the life of me.
But you still got out.
I did get out. I got out. I made a connection with the guy who owns not only the boat ramp, he's got a bar there, and that bar's got a bait shop attached to it. Me and him talked for a good long while, kind of filled each other in on what's going on with the fish and stuff. And he says nobody's really catching, and he would know. Talked to a couple of older gentlemen that were out there. They were asking me where the fish were. I'm like, I don't know. I got once, and they're like, you did better than me.
Wow.
There's another old timer I got out, and that I know out there just from seeing him all the time. We fished the same spots. He didn't do very good either. He says he got 2 to bite, and he thought he was on him. He found him, and then he couldn't get anything else. Nothing else.
Wow.
Well, he was using Berkeley Gulp minnows. He was using plastics. He says he was using hand ties. He even had minnows he threw at him, and they weren't biting for nothing.
Here's a funny situation. You talk about talking to all them old guys, and we're going to welcome everybody into chat here in just a second. Yesterday, Cindy and I went to Palm de Terre to the State Park Marina. That's the place where you can pay to fish the docks. Okay. I put money in their bucket because nobody was there with our name on it, so we didn't get in any trouble, and we didn't fish the docks. We went over to the dock where you launch your boat and tie up to while you park your truck, and caught bluegill there because they don't want you fishing there for whatever reason. There was one guy in a boat out when we got there, and he come in, very nice guy. Him and I had a great conversation. He lives over by Salem, Missouri. It's 2.5 hours to Palm de Terre Lake from his house. It's 2.5 hours to Lake Ozark or Truman from his house. It's 2.5 hours from Bull Shoals or Table Rock. Basically, any place he goes besides a public reservoir that stores water for a town is 2.5 hours. And he does it several times a week because he likes to fish. He likes to eat crappie. And
is his last name OPEC?
No, I don't know what it was. But he was a really, really nice guy. We talked about being retired, and I told him, I said, when you retire, you wait for retirement, and then you're afraid that if you don't do something, you'll die because you just sit around all the time. He said, that happens to a lot of people, and he said, it ain't happening to me. I said, me either. I'm going to do something, regardless of what it is. And as soon as my back gets healed up, I'm going to be doing a lot more.
Amen. People ask me, when are you going to retire? And I work for myself.
I'm tired. Yeah, I just haven't yet.
I'm not going to. I got it set up pretty good where I can pretty much still do what I want when I want. I can schedule stuff around, so I don't see having to stop. I know a lot of people talk about retirement, but I've seen a lot of old timers that I know pretty much wither away to nothing. And
that's right. And they don't have fishing, they don't have hunting, they don't have a hobby that keeps them active. The next thing you know, they're no longer with us.
Yep. 100%. Like my mother, for instance, she's 77 years old now, and she still goes to her health club and does 2 hours of cardio or whatever aerobics classes twice a week. And she's still running around. She'd probably outrun me, but that ain't saying too much. But she probably will.
I understand. Hey, what do you say? Welcome everybody into chat. We're gaining on our population of people in here now.
All right, let me get the list of people up here. We're going to start out with 922 Crappie Barbecue. What's going on, my friend? There's the great Miss Cindy Stokes. Hi, Cindy. Crappie Day Fish On, channel member and supporter. I see Chad over at Fields to Water. What's up, Chad? There's my sister Dee. She's a channel supporter. Thank you for your support, Dee. Lyle appreciates it. Greg Burgess in the house. What's going on, Greg? Joe Buck 66, channel supporter. How you doing, Joe? He's always in the shows. Great dude. Lance McCougai, Hawaiian Fisherman. What's up, Lance? I see Parker Pursuits. How you doing, Jerry? He got on some crappie earlier this week. He sent me a picture.
Yeah, he did. I got pictures too.
And Jerry, I sent Jerry something. The tracking number should work now because the mail lady just picked it up today. I must have missed her yesterday. Matt at Want to Be Outdoors. What's going on, Matt? How you doing, bud? My YouTube has stopped. Let me reload and make sure I didn't miss anybody. There we go. It's reloading now. I'm having some computer issues. I just think it's getting old and tired like me.
I got you.
I think I got everybody. Welcome, everybody.
Glad to see you all in chat. Our subject is It's Almost Here, which in the picture in the background is cold and dreary old wintry day, and
You
that's
know what?
coming.
Hold on, I need to stop you. When I made that, making that thumbnail got me all depressed, Lyle. I ain't gonna lie. What's up, Maurice? How you doing, bud? It made me depressed. It made me think, because I know I'm not ice fishing anymore. I'm on Team Lyle Stokes when it comes to ice fishing.
Yeah, gotcha.
From here on out. And I had to look at that thinking that I'm going to have to put that beautiful boat of mine away sooner or later. I'm going to take it out as long as I can. But it just made me depressed. But I'm going to fish as much as I can until then and see what I can do. That's why I've been going out so much the last couple of days. That being said, I need to say hello to, there's Eric Massey. He was a great guest on my show on Monday night. There's Richard from Fishing Freedom. He's a channel supporter. D's got 9 months supporting us. Thank you, D. Appreciate it. Crappie Day Fish On has been a member for 9 months. Thank you very much, sir. There's Danny Stone. How you doing, Danny? Danny, I was just messing with your tails today.
Oh, you're going to have to clarify things.
I got a buck tail and a squirrel tail from Mr. Danny Stone. I appreciate you, Danny.
Eric says the best crappie fishing is coming, and I have to agree with him.
I agree.
For us, I think the window of opportunity is probably longer than what you have.
We have a short window for fall.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Our window of opportunity is a lot longer in Southwest Missouri than what you have in Northern Illinois, because once it starts getting cold, you're not too long before you get hard water.
I don't want to talk about it. Here's what usually happens every year. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. We get a hard freeze right before Christmas. It thaws after Christmas and then freezes up again. And then it's stuck. So we'll do what we can, the best we can. I got a lot of projects. So
Matt says best crappie bait for snow.
A tungsten 5mm jig, gold hammered with red plastic. That's my go-to. Always get either panfish or crappie with those. You'll get an occasional walleye if they're around, but I was never any good at fishing for walleye through the ice.
I catch walleye fishing for crappie more than I care to admit. And there's nothing wrong with them.
No.
They're great table fare, but if they're not crappie, you know what I mean? They're just not. But they're fun to catch.
I had a young kid on my boat. He's actually not that young. He's a college kid. He went and got his captain's license. He's thinking about guiding. He fishes like every day of the week. He does really well. He's on the walleye bite, and he messaged me. He wants to go out walleye fishing, but I don't know if I'll be able to get out there. He's on the bank on the Wisconsin River doing it, so I don't know if I can make it up there. If I'm going up there, I'm going to take my boat out there, and I'm going to chase crappie on the river because I know a spot. Last time I was out there fishing, John Gillespie was fishing right next to me, Lyle, for crappie.
Nice.
And maybe stay late and try to get one of those S-word fishes that you so adore.
S-word fishes. Suckers?
The dinosaurs.
You know, I don't care about them being there, but I see so much wasted money spent on the survival of them, and there's no shortage of them. There's tons of them, and they spend all that money on the survival of sturgeon when the money should be spent on catfish regulations and fighting Illinois and their commercial fishermen coming to Missouri and using our ramps and going in and out of the water here, because Illinois don't have very many ramps on the Mississippi River. And that's where the money should be spent, is deterring commercial fishing for catfish instead of all this other crap, but they're pissing money away on. Just my opinion, but it is.
You know, Illinois has got big, deep pockets when it comes to taxes. I know because I pay them here in Illinois.
Got that right, yeah.
They should come to some sort of agreement if they don't have one already to send some of that money over there for those maintenance on those ramps and such. So
my understanding is they're never going to put any more ramps in on the Mississippi River. The maintenance and upkeep on them are horrendous. They really are.
Hey, you ain't gonna tell me I drove off the end of one today.
Well, and that'll scuba bait tear out an axle if you ain't careful.
Yeah,
When you pull back out, yeah.
I know the ramp. I know to back down really nice and slow. But the first time I hit the end of that ramp, it scared me to death.
Curtis, whoop. Curtis, I like walleye. There's nothing wrong with walleye, but in my mind, there's nothing better than a good crappie. Although personally, I prefer catfish over all of them. But little channel cats about that long, they're my favorite of all.
Me and Lyle were talking about that before the
crappie
show.
are good. They're hard to beat. Put a little Andy's red on them babies, put them in the deep fryer and pull them out. Walleye's great too. My taste, I prefer crappie over walleye. Maybe some of that is because I don't target them and I catch them by accident. And if they're this right size, they're going home. I mean, I'm going to eat them, but I just prefer crappie. And I'd rather have bluegill than either one of them. But to find a mess of 7 or 8 inch bluegill is a little harder for me to do than it is crappie, to be honest.
If I had them both staring at me on a plate, I would not complain, Lyle.
You're just going to eat both, ain't you?
I'm just going to eat them both, just like we do in Mendota whenever Jerry puts them out for us to eat. So never complain. It's good stuff. I had that crappie and I had a couple of small perch that I filleted. I took home for Monday and I made a couple. What did I get? I got like 3 tacos out of it. It wasn't much, but I was keeping them and I was going to eat them, and I did. And just like Dockery says, the perch is good, but it's very, very, I don't want to say bland, but neutral tasting. It tastes it tastes more like whatever you season it with, to be honest with you.
Michael Murillo says taste buds change as you age too. One's memory fades too. That's worth mentioning. Crappie for the win. Michael, I got you on the one's memory fades. I have a little issue with that. My taste buds have actually improved, and I hate to say this, but I quit smoking 5 years ago, and I can taste things now that I could not taste before. And the things that I like, some of them I don't like as well as I used to, and things that I didn't used to like at all, I can eat just. I'm telling you, if you were a smoker and you quit, you will see a change in things. The little signs at the doctor's office when you go in there, it says, if you quit smoking, it takes this long for this to change, this long to change. That's a bunch of crapola. It takes a lot longer for that stuff to work. But then all of a sudden you start picking up on, man, that really tastes pretty good. Or how come I can smell that? Didn't used to smell that.
Yeah,
it changes. It's better for you. Everybody that ever smoked a cigarette in their life knew it was bad for them, but they never wanted to quit. But if you do, you will notice things that you thought, oh, that's bull. It's true.
You know what I noticed, Lyle? Coffee tastes a lot better.
Coffee tastes a lot better. I drink very little coffee. I have the last couple of mornings. I've had a couple of cups with Cindy. She drinks a lot of coffee. And there for a while, it was giving me heartburn so bad I couldn't stand it. And the doctor gave me some medicine to take at night. Now I don't have that issue, but I just haven't went back to drinking it daily like I did before.
Mm. I got to get my 2 cups in the morning. There's our buddy Troy over at Real and Virtual Outdoors. He's been a member for 3 months. He says, guess who's back in chat? Troy, I hope you weren't missing for any negative reasons, but we're glad to see you as always.
Absolutely.
And there's Jerry saying that hard to beat bluegill for eating.
I'm with you on that. Michael says used to still smoke brisket and baby back. And yeah, I'm probably going to do that.
There's Avid Fisherman. How you doing, Avid? Uncle Jeep in the house. What's up, Uncle Jeep? How you doing? All these people coming in. It's great to see him as always.
Uncle Jeep said, whoop. Hang on just a second, Steph. The colder the weather, the better the coffee tastes.
This is true.
That could be. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie. God's truck.
Bluegills do make great bait, and I have a bait cooler full of them.
So does shad. I ain't eating shad though.
It depends on what you. No, I'm not eating them nasty. They stink. Yeah, I gotta tell you. You talking about that? I've got a Frable bait cooler that I purchased the other day, full of bait and an Engel that's got some in it too. And yes, Dockery, all still alive, 2 days strong. So bite me. Um, the smell of them bluegill's not that good either. When you've got them in water, been in there all day, I understand why you should change water daily with them because they smell and they make water smell. And I think it's because of the deposits they make in that water.
I think you're right.
Ammonia and other things.
You know what I do? I use that better bait, Lyle, in my bait tank. I got a 100-gallon bait tank. I fill it up to 70 gallons. I know this because I used math of all things. I used to be pretty good at math.
Okay.
Like you fill up a 5-gallon bucket, time how long it takes to fill up 5 gallons, and then you time how long you're filling up the thing. With that better bait, I'll take a 5-gallon bucket. I'll take one bucket out, dump it, and I'll put one fresh bucket in every week, which works pretty good.
Well, I've got some stuff that takes the chlorine out of the water, and I'll put a 5-gallon bucket in with that and fill it up and make sure it's all mixed up good. Then I'll drain 5-gallon out of my tank and put that back in it. So I'm doing that daily now to make sure I don't lose fish. Now, today, instead of doing that, we decided to go out to the river, the small river we have right outside of town, and get 5-gallon bucket of water and exchange it out in there.
That'll work.
Yeah, except when I got there, I had to fish.
Of course. I mean,
yeah.
Hello.
Fishing with Squirrel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Fish Heads Videos, welcome, my friend.
What's going on?
But yeah, we're excited about going out. I can't stand on that bank. It just drives my back insane. Cindy's feet on her, she got them knee replacements, and uneven ground bothers her, which along any creek bank or river bank is uneven. But I can go out there for a little bit, and then I got to get off the bank. I just can't stand there and cast or run a fly rod or anything like that. Hopefully after next Tuesday that'll be a lot better. But we'll see. You know, it has so far. This one hasn't worked as well as I had hoped, but we'll see. Maybe it'll get better after that.
Jerry says, great thing about having well water, you don't have to add anything. 100%. You know,
that's true.
That goes the same for rainwater too. I've been meaning to get a 55-gallon drum in the backyard and collect some rainwater that way and use it for my bait tank. The guys that own the bait shops here, both of the ones that are local, they both do that, and it works well for them.
One thing to remember about well water, it has hardly any oxygen in it. So make sure you have some way of putting oxygen in there.
What's up, Jut and Jen? How you doing? How's the fall crappie bite in your neck of the woods?
You're right, Chrissy. You are 100% correct.
I think the crappie bite's getting ready to turn on up here in northern Illinois.
Well, I don't know if Eric's still in here or not, but I know he's been on them, and there's a lot of people in our area catching a lot of crappie right now.
You got to have a lot of crappie to be able to catch a lot of crappie, and I'm starting to think that we don't have as many as I'd like to have. That's for sure.
Pompetier and Truman are both got big amounts, and I think Stockton, I know they used to. I think they still have a lot in it. Also, the problem with Stockton Lake right now, it is horribly low. So
I know people who like low water, especially that's another thing in the winter. All these places that you fish, they get drained down the winter pool. They say that it can, the fish get concentrated in certain areas, so they find it a little easier to fish then too.
I think one of the things that would help a guy in low water situations more than anything is some kind of mapping like Navionics has that tells you depth and water contours. I think that is a great asset at all times, but especially in low water, because them lines will get a lot closer together. And anytime you see a depth change, that's like adding structure.
100%. I was finding them on the ledge today at like 23 feet, and they were just hard to get at. They've been there for like the last week and a half. They haven't moved yet. I'm looking at the canals that I like to fish this time of year, and the water's starting to get clear, and the weeds are starting to die, which tells me they may be moving here pretty soon. But we're still getting, nights closer to 50 than 40, so that keeps that water temp up because the sun will come out during the day and keep it right around 56 degrees. I'm looking for 52 to 50 degrees usually is when the bite starts turning on really good. So
yeah. Eric says the bite's really good right now. Will be until December. I agree with that. And he also says even with Navionics, he still almost got into trouble very shallow. And that's what happens if you don't watch it. I think from what I've understood here from talking to people and being out quite a bit here recently, I think that Pomme de Terre, which is, I know that's one of the lakes that Eric fishes a lot, and me too, because it's close to home. He fishes goes full of crappie. I'm going to go over and catch their channel cat, but it's one of it and Lake Ozarks are fairly close to normal pool, and Truman and Stockton are really Stockton. I've never seen it so low. In fact, I can't imagine it ever being that way. Oh, he said that's on Stockton. But Stockton is horribly low. Cindy and I went over there a few weeks ago and was pulling baits for catfish, and I really had to watch it. He says Pomme de Terre is almost 6 foot low. I read somewhere that it was almost normal pool, but it didn't look like normal pool. But I know that we caught a lot of bluegill over there.
So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're getting ready for cold weather fishing is watch the water levels in your local reservoirs because they're going to start dropping them if they haven't already. So,
and I've never understood that. Never. They do that and we used to complain about it when we duck hunted all the time, and they said we got to draw them down for winter pool in case we get a big flood. Well, let's worry about that when it happens, you dummy. I mean, we ain't had hardly any rain all summer. Why would we be worried about winter pool now?
I think they're worried about snow melt from the north. Who knows, though? I don't know for sure.
We ain't had enough snow in the last couple of years to have floods, hardly.
We're due, though. I think we're definitely due for some big snow, so we'll see what happens.
Well, we need them. All these lakes are low, and they're not. Snow melt's not going to affect them. It will the Mississippi and the Missouri. It won't the Osage and Sac and those rivers that fill up our lakes around here. Them snowfall up north is not going to help that. What's going to help that is rain, and we're not getting it. So we'll see what happens. It's time for us to start getting fall rains. It really is. Any time now.
We had like 3 solid days of rain, and it did make a difference. I haven't been on the river, but it really didn't make a difference.
Hey Ryan, welcome, buddy.
What's going on, Ryan, bud? How you doing, man?
Yeah, Eric. Now that you mentioned that, Eric, about it being 6 foot low, I did read that somebody said that it was normal pool, but the water's not even close to the weed line and brush line that's around that lake. So it's I knew it was low, but didn't realize it was quite that low. Hey, Curtis
Cunningham says they drop them in my area for repairs also. Yeah, I have a couple local small community reservoirs. That's exactly what I do.
And I'm okay with them doing repairs, especially on boat ramps and stuff like that. But the problem is they don't do any around here.
Yeah, and the Army Corps engineers, they come in and they do all sorts of surveying and stuff with them.
If they do stuff like that for us, it's on the Mississippi, and I don't have a problem with that. But don't spend all your money on one basket of eggs. Well, there's more places in one river that people fish.
Ryan says November 1st is when they drop our water on the river. I'm guessing is what he's meaning. I don't think they're going to have to drop it by much, at least not in the chain. That's for sure.
Are you pretty low?
It's pretty low. That ramp's awfully low where I launched.
But it's never very high.
Well, on the I was
right
37 feet of water today, Lyle, believe it or not.
You was in 37 feet of water on your river?
Not on the river. I was on the chain.
Oh, okay.
I was on a lake.
Okay.
Lake fishing. Ugh, I have a hard time getting used to it.
You know, I fished rivers my whole life. And when we originally come down here, I had to fish lakes. So I had to learn how to fish them. And Truman instantly become my favorite lake. And I fished a lot by myself because kids had stuff to do. Cindy had things to do. I'd go up and spend the day by myself and learn how to fish those lakes. And got pretty successful with it. Then we took off and went take care of Mom, went back up there, and I'm back up on the rivers. And, man, I'm having myself a time because I'm right at home killing them river fish and just loving it. And now we're back down here, and now I'm fishing different rivers, so it's learning curve again. And with the water being so much lower than it has been in several years, it's like starting over again. But now, if Eric's still in here, he'll understand what I'm saying here. The Lindley arm of Pomme de Terre is a arm of the river. It's a big creek, and I want to fish that really bad because it just looks fishy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we've drove down there 2 or 3 times to check the ramp out and everything, and they have a ramp and a dock so we can get on and off the boat. The problem is it's a big long way up to the parking lot. I don't know if my old buck can make it up there twice in one day and take the boat back and the trailer back. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. When I fished the Ohio with Betty and Brandon and Chad and Dee, they were there too. I think we launched at Portsmouth, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a half mile, like up a 40-degree grade to get back to the parking lot. I'm like, this is crazy. Get me. Screw that ramp.
It looks rough, Eric. It really does, but I don't know how to get to that area to fish it without having to travel a long way. But it looks like a fishy area. It looks like you can.
You know, all the fish are there because boaters don't want to launch and walk up that part.
There's a big campsite there, a great big one. We went in there yesterday, Mark, just looking around. There was not a boat in the area, nobody in the parking lot, and nobody in the campground. Eric says he'll never use that again.
Dan Thompson, channel member, how you doing, bud? Welcome to the show. We appreciate you.
I don't know what it is about that ramp, but that creek looks really good. But if Eric he doesn't want to fish it, he puts in at Nemo. That still looks like quite a ways.
We got one ramp here in Algonquin that you go out there this time of year and fish at night, like if we're fishing for flatheads, you can park right next to the ramp. Nobody uses the darn thing. Literally 10 steps away from the dock. It's awesome. Ryan knows what I'm talking about.
Well, if it's not that far, maybe I'll try Nemo and boat down. I'm telling you, that area looks awesome, and I think a man could go in there and catch catfish. I think a guy could go in there. It looks good enough, Mark. You could probably catch crappie in the daytime and flatheads at night.
There you go.
It looks like that kind of area. It really does. But, creek channels, turns and stuff, from what I can see. Yeah, stay in a channel. I'm sure that's right. But it just looks awesome down in there. And beautiful area. Like I say, it don't have a dock every 5 feet like Lake Ozark does. It don't have any. There's not a truck or a boat that you could see on that area of the lake yesterday. I mean, not anywhere. And I told Cindy, I said, you know what? Nobody's down here. Maybe we come over here and try to find some bluegill or some bait. Michael Murillo, flathead are my favorite panfish. Well, they kind of fall into that category with a lot of people. They're definitely the king of cats,
Calvin Lassiter, welcome to the show. We appreciate you.
Hey, Calvin.
From North Carolina.
Glad to have you in here.
So, Lyle.
Sir.
Winter. What do you do to get ready for winter?
Get a coat. That's about it.
I went and dug out my heat pads You know those
I,
the chemical ones? Dug
yeah,
them out. Been taking them with me. Loaded the boat up with them.
to tell you the truth, Mark, um, up until recently, I've always dealt with cold very well. I most of the time wear sweatpants underneath a pair of bibs and a hoodie with my fishing jacket, and that's about it. When I shot trap all the time, everybody all be bundled up. They couldn't move. They couldn't swing their gun because I'd be wearing a sweatshirt and a hoodie. That's it. I you just could handle winter pretty well. The older I get, the less I handle winter. It's harder for me to deal with the cold. But we have an enclosure on our boat, although some of it's not working right at the moment. We got to get some zippers in it, but that looks like a home run, and it is. Sorry, um, but you know, a heater in the boat. If you're going to be think you're going to be really uncomfortable, we have a couple of ones. We have one of the big double burners that set on a 30-pound thing, and oh my god, you
They
can't
give off
hardly.
a lot of heat to be that close to them, though.
It does. I also have a buddy heater, Mister Heater or whatever, buddy heater. Uh, Works really well in the boat. So, but most of the time we just bundle up and go out there and do what we got to do and go home.
I've moved into that the frame of mind where I keep like my bibs in my truck, 2 different jackets depending on what the outlook is, an extra sweatshirt in the boat, stuff like that. I still haven't put on any gloves because I hate fishing with gloves, but that's usually the death of me. If I'm out fishing in the winter, let's say I go down to Navy Pier for perch fishing in December, as soon as my hands get cold, I'm done. That's the problem.
Here's
When I say cold, though, I'm talking like can't feel them anymore cold.
yeah. Here's something that I ask a lot of people about, and everybody's got a different perspective about. They make fishing jackets. If you wear bibs as I do, they make fishing jackets that are waist length, or they make parkas that go down past your butt. Now, I have both. I do not like the parkas, and here's why I don't like them. When you go to sit down, the front of it goes up and tries to choke you because you're sitting on the tail of it. So you got to pull that up every time. Or with a jacket, you just sit down and you're comfortable because they don't go past your waist, it doesn't get underneath your butt, and it's not uncomfortable.
Well,
Now,
here's something that our warmer climate listeners and watchers might not know. If you buy an ice suit like my Frabill ice suit, I love it to death. But if I'm wearing the jacket without the bibs, you get a draft right up the back of the coat, right up your back.
you do.
Yeah, because it's built to. They're made just to go over those bibs. So keep that in
That's
mind
right.
when you buy bibs. So.
Yep. And I learned all this stuff from duck hunting, sitting in duck blinds all them years ago. But it applies in fishing boats. So you might as well be comfortable. But a Parker said a good quality fleece pullover is great in the winter. They are. I just hoodies is my thing. If I don't have to put on more than that, and if you don't go wide open, a lot of times you don't have to put on more than that. I would just as soon put a hoodie on and call it a day.
You know, I like the performance ones. They're made out of like a more modern material. I don't even know what they're made out of, but they keep the wind from going through. You don't sweat through them. Also, you know, they're right on.
Yep.
I bought one from my merch shop. I think Betty's got one too, and both of us will swear by them. They're pretty good, but that doesn't mean I won't put an ice jacket over it though. So.
Yeah, I have a couple sets of Frabills, and I know there's a lot of high dollar stuff out there. I've not found anything that I like better than the Frabill stuff.
You haven't tried a striker? If I
No, and I'm not ever going to for what they want for them.
I know.
Not that I can't. I'm just not going to pay anybody that kind of money for anything.
It wasn't Creole, but now that you mention it, we'll say that it was.
DeWalt heated jacket with a battery in each pocket.
You know,
I've heard good things about those.
You know, Richard Jean, the fishing machine's wife, bought him, I think it was 2 years ago, a heated vest, battery pack, a battery heated vest. And I think to this day, he still wears that thing. I'm guessing it works pretty good. But then again, he lives in Alabama, and they don't know what winter is in Alabama.
Well, kind of like Jeremy, he don't, Mississippi don't get cold weather.
Calvin Lassiter says he loves the AFTCO hoodies.
Everything that I ever seen that AFCO built that I ever used was quality stuff. So I'm sure you are correct about that.
So I'm pretty much all right. You hear about lakes turning over in the seasons. They turn over in the spring and they turn over in the fall, Lyle. Earlier when I had mentioned fishing those canals, I'm noticing the water clearing up, the weeds dying off, even the what is it, the duckweed that floating on the top's getting blown off onto the side. It's starting to die off and fall to the bottom. That's when it tells me that turning's happening, and when that's done, that's when it's game time for me here in the north. So
I would say that's probably a good indication. I don't really know how much of that we have going on in the size lakes that we have here. Palm de Terre and Stockton being the two smaller ones. Lake Ozarks and Truman are giant entities, and they have rivers that run in and feed them. So all they have to do is open the dam, and the current is created.
Well, when I say turning, that's like when the weed dies off and the nitrogen that it gives off is exchanged. So they move in from the deeper to the shallows and vice versa. So
right. But I don't really. If I find a thermocline, I never fish below it, and you might see a fish below it, but it won't be there very long. They can't maintain that, and once that's done and gone, and the water starts cooling off, I go back to fishing where I find fish at whatever depth I find them, and I don't really worry about these rivers or these lakes turning over here. They may do it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, I don't wrestle with thermoclines. I fish a river all summer long. So
yeah, if there's current, you don't have a thermocline.
But I do have to say it is a lot nicer when you know what I saw today, Lyle? Come to speak of it, I saw 2 jet skis on the water today.
You gotta be kidding me.
It was 50 degrees out. What's the matter with these guys? But anyways, I was going to say, obviously all the knuckleheads are putting their boats away. Docks are starting to get pulled up.
I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mean to be mean about that, but for a fisherman, there's only a couple of things in the whole world that are horrible. Sea-doos, in my opinion, are the number one pain in the ass on the water. The next thing is pleasure boaters because they think it's funny to watch you flop around like a toy in a bathtub out there because they can make a big old wake and you can't. What's wrong with these people?
I think wakeboard boats are the worst, Lyle.
I don't know. Sea-doos are pretty bad,
but you got a 4-foot
wake. A million of them.
You got 3 to 4 foot wake behind these bad boys, and it's not fun to deal with, especially my old boat. I've had a couple of waves wash over the front of them. They're so high.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
But, when we got these boats down here and they're 30, 40 foot long, running 30 or 40 mile an hour, they put out a pretty good wake. Wake boats with 600 pounds of water in its
ballast. They're the worst.
Yeah.
Right. Especially on that little river that me and Ryan fish, man. It's like being right next to a barge, I'd imagine. So I haven't had too much experience with barges, but they leave a pretty good wake.
Well, yeah, they do. Yeah. The really, really full ones, like at 6 wide, 7 or 8 deep, coming up the Mississippi River. Oh, dude. Creole knows.
Well, I have limited experience with them, and the only thing that shocks me is how long those waves last after they're gone. It's like 5 minutes of that.
Oh yeah. I've never seen barges like they have down in Memphis and below. It just, holy crap! It's unbelievable how much wake comes off of those things, and like you say. 10, 15 minutes later, it's still shaking you around. And them guys will say, let's wait for that barge bite. How would you know? How would you possibly know?
Creole catfishing might have a word, or Lyle, you might have a word for Creole here. He says, down here, it's duck boat season now. The worst.
Oh, I don't know. I never went duck hunting where there was any people. Places I went, most of them couldn't go because we had a little boat that was skinned back in 3 or 4 inches of water. So,
Chrissy, well, I'm glad that didn't happen. But yeah,
wow,
well,
no kidding.
they do not care.
No, they don't. They don't care. So, wake boats and houseboat yachts are way worse. Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Good evening, Dale. How you doing?
Hi, Dale.
I guess one of the biggest things I do to modify my fishing is I slow down even more than normal as far as presenting baits and gear to any fish that I'm chasing. If I don't catfish too much this time of year, but when I do, I'll give a spot a little extra time. I'll do a little more scanning this time of year. If the fish ain't there, you ain't going to catch them no matter how slow you're going.
Jerry said he had a problem with a guy in a wake boat, kept buzzing by his wife in a kayak till he flipped her. He met him at the dock. It wasn't pretty. You know, I think I mentioned this last week. Cindy and I was at Lake of the Ozarks, and a kid come in with a Sea-Doo, and he just kept jumping that thing up and down. And she's trying to hold our boat off of the dock while I walk up to back the trailer in. And I walked back down, and I said, I need to get a hold of this guy or what? And his dad was there. And I said, why don't you just both come on up here and I'll explain to you how this works. And the dad told the kid they need to go back out and wait. There's no sense of people doing that. He was just being a little prick. There's no reason for that. He knew he was doing it and then said he wasn't. I have a very low tolerance for people like that, as I'm sure Jerry did for that guy that flipped his wife in that river, because you do that to Cindy with her and them bad knees that can't swim. And when I get hold of you, you're going to know I've been there, buddy.
Yeah, do something to me, it's bad enough. Do something to
That's
somebody
right.
I care for, you're in trouble.
You're in a bunch of trouble. That's right. And they think, well, just an old man. Don't discount that. Don't discount that. I promise you, you won't like it. And you know what? Jerry's getting there too.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Jerry Parker will be an old man one of these days too.
It's one of these days soon.
Yeah, Evan said this time of year he carries firewood. Wow. Oh, that's about all I've got for wintertime when it gets cold. Where you're at, you kind of got to put your stuff in the garage.
You do unless you're well, if you're ice fishing, obviously you can't be too safe when you're out on the ice.
Oh,
I used to love ice fishing a lot, but not so much in my older years. If I had a heated side by side with an enclosure on it, that'd be a different story, Lyle. But
is that really ice fishing though?
yes. Have you seen my boat, for Christ's sake? There ain't nothing roughing it about it. I'm to that age already. I ain't roughing it if I don't have to. But when we went to Mendota, I brought an ice shanty with me so I wouldn't get cold, my friend. And that was May.
Evan, I got you, man. The my buddy John Nordyke is a big woodworking machine. He has a woodworking shop at his house that's nicer than most people's houses. And one day he had a whole bunch of scrap material laying around, and we was having a tournament, and we was catfishing tournaments on the Mississippi River and had problems with Asian carp jumping in the boat all the time. So John made up a bunch of little baseball bats about this long, put a leather strap through a hole in the end of them, and give them away at this fishing tournament. And Cindy's got one hanging up in there. So I got you on firewood.
Yeah,
and she carried it in the boat for the longest time.
There's a name for those. A lot of the salmon guys use them. They're called fish priests, Lyle.
Fish priest.
They actually make them so you can knock a fish in the head and put it out of its misery after you catch them on the Great Lakes. So,
well, Cindy kept that in the boat for the longest time because we had so many Asian carp getting in the boat with us, and hell, they come in the boat with me. Part of them's going on a hook. I mean, that's just the way it is. But they'll hurt you. They'll hurt you. And once they get in the boat, they flop around like a carp on scales, and you might as well just dispense it, because in Missouri you must kill it before you release it back in the water, and then it's just turtle bait anyhow. So
well, which is fine with me.
yeah, me too. They're horrible.
Fine with me. When I was down there, and the one time I got out on the Mississippi in my little boat, those gosh darn Asian carp scared me half to death. I forgot all about them. I'm doing about 25 miles an hour, and boom, they're hitting the side of my boat. I'm like, what did I just hit? And then they started jumping. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get some bait. So I get my net out, and I head the opposite way, and I can't find them. They won't jump for nothing. They're gone.
I have had them when we'd be running wide open in our boat down the Illinois River, and the Illinois River is the worst place I've ever been for Asian carp. And at over 30 mile an hour, they would hit up in the front of the boat and turn you in the river. There's got to be 40, 50 pounders doing that. And our enclosure is, I don't know, 7 foot maybe or taller to the top of it. And I've had them bastards jump up and land on the top of it. And Cindy would actually put her side of the enclosure, zip it on, to keep them from coming in and hitting her in the face.
They got to be able to wreck an enclosure too if they hit it the right way.
If they hit it just right, they'll tear it all to hell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're fishing for catfish, crappie, bluegill, perch. I don't care. If they're in that water, they can do damage to you and everything you got. And when they get in the boat, everything they touch is just all slimed up, and they bleed instantly. So it's just a mess every time you got to deal with it.
Hey, I just had an idea for a competition with the brothers, Lyle.
Uh-oh.
Do you ever see that video of that guy that's getting pulled behind a boat in an inner tube with a football helmet and a net?
Yeah. Josh will win that hands down.
Yeah, probably. He's got the reach.
Remember Dockery tried to stand up on that inner tube.
You got a picture. I can picture all of us trying that.
I'll drive the boat. How's that?
Funny. Now we're putting you in a tube too. You're getting out there.
Not gonna happen, man. Not gonna happen. Oh man. How much time do you think you have before it's hard water up there where you're at?
Like I said, middle of December we'll have a freeze. The ponds will obviously freeze up sooner than the lakes and stuff. But
right,
as soon as I see that water skim over, I'm probably going to be done until spring. So,
right,
unless there's a thaw or something, then I might get out on the river and do a little bank fishing. So,
yeah,
I got a couple of spots that I've always thought might be good walleye spots. That might be the time to do it. Go out there with some blade baits. And try.
Okay, Mark, go ahead and close the show, will you? Somehow my dog's out and I got to go chase her down.
Copy that. All right, everybody. I want to remind you all that Catfish Weekly with Chad, Josh, and Lyle, I'm not sure if he's going to be on this Monday or not, but I think he is on Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. My show comes on directly afterwards, a Catfish and Crappie podcast on my channel, Catfish and Crappie. We're going to have a guest this Monday. Look forward to having another show. Season 3 is starting up. Obviously, we got the bait shop on Thursday nights, and we got Panfish Nation every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Other than that, man, everybody have a blessed day or a blessed week. Have a good weekend. Get out there and fish before it gets too cold to fish. And if it does get too cold and you decide to go out and fish anyways, cover up. Don't get frostbite. Keep safe. You use your noodle, and I'm not talking about fishing with noodles, but you know what I mean. Use your brain and don't do something you're going to regret. And good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.